Hi, my name is Roy Schilling. I'm here with my good friend Phil, and this is Agile, Raw, and Uncut. Phil, what's our topic today?
Well, everyone in times of COVID hopes to feel more safe. So perhaps we
Safe,
should
yeah.
talk about a similar parallel topic in the world of Agile.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Phil, do you feel safe? Do you feel safe?
Not with safe. I
Not
feel
with safe,
rather
not so
unsafe.
safe with safe.
I feel
Yeah.
rather unsafe.
Yeah, rather unsafe. So let's start off with some positive stuff, right? So there is some good stuff in Safe, and if you're not familiar with Safe, it's Scaled Agile Framework. I'm not sure what the E stands for. I think it's enterprises, but there's a reason it's a little E. I think just to make
Enterprise.
it sound safe. So it's a scaled agile framework, and so there is some good stuff here. Let's not knock it completely. It's came out at a time where a lot of organizations were still not doing scaling techniques. They were still very much team level kinds of activities, still grassroots. So it came out at a point where a lot of organizations that were coming from more traditional approaches needed to see some structure because they heard about this agile thing, and it was a bunch of folks out in California in Birkenstocks and doing whatever the heck they want to, and that's not what agile was, but that was their impression, right?
Yeah.
So seeing the structure and feeling something that looked similar to what they were used to give them that feeling, and even the name gave them that feeling of safety, right? That there's, this makes sense. This is okay. I can work with this. I see similarities to what we do today. And that made them feel more comfortable. And then they could move into a closer to an agile world. Now, there's also some good stuff too, in that some of the concepts in there, I use them myself. And full disclosure, I'm not a safe certified or anything like that. I've read the books because I want to understand it. I don't want to just talk about the topic without knowing what I'm talking about. So I've read the books, and I've worked in environments where they were using some safe. So this is not just me espousing, without having actually experienced any of it.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some good things in safe. I make use some of the techniques as well. But quite honestly, a lot of the things that are described in SAFE, they didn't invent, right? And there's nothing wrong with
Oh,
that.
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't invent Scrum, they didn't invent Kanban, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot, design thinking and things like that. They didn't invent
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. But there are sometimes it's viewed that, well, SAFE is saying it, so they invented it, and that's obviously not appropriate. And Dean Leffingwell, the one of the inventors of this, he never said that, right? He didn't say that this was all his. So,
Yeah.
and I give lots of credit to Dean. He did probably the best thing that came out of SAFE is the homepage on the web page, the home screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant stuff. Absolutely brilliant. If you're not familiar with it, it's called the big picture. It shows you all the layers of SAFE. You can click on all the icons, takes you down into details. Brilliant stuff. So major credit to Dean and his folks. They did a great job, and they marketed it very, very well. And there are some good concepts. So that's the good stuff. So Phil, what are your thoughts? Did you want to lead us off a little bit, or would you like me
Well,
to
let
lead off
me
on some
let
other
me let me
things?
be perfectly honest, Roy.
Please do.
I have, I don't know, a different perspective, maybe because I come from the world of predictive. And the
Mm-hmm.
first thing that jumps out at me is, oh my gosh, this is what I'm trying to run away from. And it's
Yeah.
here waiting for me, staring at me in the face. And I just see disaster waiting to happen upon disaster waiting to happen. And I did a lot of research and read a lot of articles, especially articles from friends at the PMI. And there's one on projectmanagement.com. And one of the articles here, commentary says, I'm skeptical about how safe is safe. And that's exactly what my perspective was. So
That is the common joke. Yes.
how
How safe
safe
is
is
safe?
safe?
Yeah.
And he says, in my opinion, I believe, especially in the agile environment, the project team should be given a minimum set of data they need to publish and maintain in order for the management to get the overall picture. But honestly, I just see a lot of mechanisms and process heaviness that gets me
Yeah.
nervous.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like a
Now,
monster.
so I will say also that there are different levels of safe. You can go all the way down to essential safe, and I feel like I'm for some reason supporting them. And it's and I'm going to share some opinions in a little bit that will show you that is I'm not really supporting them. But so there are ways that you can scale down safe so that it gets to the bare minimum stuff. I would suggest that even the bare minimum, much of it is unnecessary. It's still unwieldy. It's more prescriptive. And a lot of the concepts that they're using, it comes from out of the box Scrum or from out of
Right.
the box at other Agile XP, Agile, other Agile practices. So none of Essential Safe really is from Safe, right?
Mhm.
Let's just face it. You can do
Yeah.
all that stuff without doing anything from Safe or getting any of their certifications. So you know, so here's my opinion about this. You're right. There's a lot of prescription going on. You can pare it down so you can reduce a lot of it, but there's a lot of prescription going on in Safe, and that is exactly the opposite of what we want to do. Right? We want to
Exactly.
have a much lighter. It's talking about lean and light and lightweight. This, my opinion, Safe is training wheels for Agile. Right? It's for companies that don't really understand that Agile is about the culture, and
Hmm.
they see this big, beautiful picture and say, I can put a flow chart around it.
Hmm.
And there you go. I can be Agile. That makes me that now I can easily slide into Agile and still have control. Right. And that's what Safe kind of gives you in a way. It gives you that illusion of control. And that's not what we're supposed to be doing. It's supposed to be about the
Exactly.
culture. And I think that's the
And
biggest part. Yeah.
let's take that phrase, Roy, what we are supposed to be doing as a result of our moral compass, as a
Yeah.
result of our understanding of what the Agile movement should be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what stopped the Agile Alliance from going on a deep end and putting together a bunch of things? After all, it's Agile Alliance. They could have brought in whatever they
Yeah.
wanted, dressed it up, and presented it as such. So when I
Yeah.
see things like this, trying to amalgamate portfolio and program and just layers of needless difficulty and tediousness,
Yeah.
it just turns me off immediately and
Mm-hmm.
makes me shake my head. Let's be honest. I know
Yeah.
we can scale it down, but is the energy in scaling down more than the energy in just keeping it simple, for goodness sake?
Yeah, you honestly don't need all this, and there's also there's also some other stuff that happens in the background. If you take a look at this picture, the big picture on their website,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of complexity there, right? And when an organization sees complexity, they're going to go looking for help, so they
Yep.
hire a ton of consultants to help them out, right? To be able to roll out Safe. So you got consulting dollars all over this thing. And that's really, quite honestly, that's where a lot of this, what it comes down to. And it's just, it just rolls and rolls and rolls. And part of the problem is that organizations are just trying to figure out how to do Agile. So they've just maybe ramped up a couple of teams. They're just experimenting. So they've got teams that can't, produce predictably. Their quality output is not so great. They've got scrum masters that are former project managers and have no experience yet. They have product owners that don't know how to organize or prioritize the backlog, or don't have the abilities to do so because of the organizational culture. Well, that sounds like a great time to scale that. It's like, how does that make any sense? Teams can't produce, scrum masters don't know their job, and product owners can't prioritize. So let's make it bigger and add a lot of complexity to it. So if you can't even get that, if you can't get teams that can produce consistently and reliably and high quality, and scrum masters that are experienced that can help their teams, and product owners that have the power to prioritize and know how to do their job, then scaling is a bad idea, because you're just going to scale all the problems to go with it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's what
It's like
happens with Safe.
putting the cart before the horse. Isn't that what this is? I mean, you're
Yeah.
not even good at the simplest of models, the skeleton of Scrum. You're not even half good there. And
Mm-hmm.
then you're putting a whole barrage of stuff. It's just like horse manure. That's what it is.
I view it. It's kind of like what we do in the prescriptive world. We put toll gates and stage gates and policies and procedures in place, thinking that will solve all of their problems, right? Because if I've got a policy, I can control it. I don't have to worry about somebody doing something wrong because my policy says they're
Mm-hmm.
not going to do it. Well, people are going to make mistakes. It's going to happen all over the place, and this gives the impression that there's control and mistakes won't happen. Well, I can promise you mistakes are going to happen.
For
And
sure.
we actually we encourage them, right? We want those mistakes to happen. We want to see them and experiment and have some really good failures. And it's a control mechanism. It's just really not that great.
And I mean, all the multiple flavors of it, the essential, the large solution, the portfolio, the full safe, it just gives me a headache. I have to be honest. I'm one with a high tolerance for pain and ambiguity, but I have enough common sense to know, in the world of what the PMI calls hybridization,
Mm-hmm.
there should be simplicity. We've already
Absolutely.
got complicated, unwieldy models in waterfall. This is like
Absolutely.
going back to, I don't know, to the days of torture, in my mind. It might be a bit of a hard word to use, but I just see it as torture. And I have a huge tolerance for flow charts and all this stuff, but this is not the agile mindset. This is like the opposite.
In comparison, Phil, two organizations that I worked with in the past, one organization, the number of teams was about this. Actually, the one team organization I just finished had more teams. They had about 20 teams, just wrapping them up, and they're doing a whole organizational transformation. Great folks, and they did a great job. We didn't do any of this nonsense. Right. It was build up your teams, get them to understand their jobs, get experience and have teams that can reliably produce. And we did some scrum of scrums activities and some other portfolio kind of management type of activities to make sure that we're prioritizing properly and things like that. And they're still making lots of mistakes, but they're doing really well. They canceled a whole bunch of projects, which was great because they got rid of things that they shouldn't be working on. So they're doing a fantastic job, right? It's really, really good stuff. Now compare that to another organization that they had rolled out SAFE, and they had fewer teams. I think it was only about 8 teams, and they couldn't get out of their own way. They were so focused on following the rules of SAFE that they weren't following the cultural and the good behavior practices that are necessary to be agile, not just following a script or a flow chart. That's one of the biggest drawbacks of SAFE is it makes you feel safe, right? That you can just put this in place and off you go. And that's just not the way it works, right?
It's unfortunate, Roy. Like the more we go into these discussions, the more obvious it is that a lot of people just want to do agile. They're not being agile in their thought processes. They've got the same old stinking thinking, and they think it's going to change magically with the key to a safe. No.
That's a good one. I like that one. And we talk about this here, right? And we talk about this in our classes, you and I all the time about I don't necessarily care what practices you follow. It doesn't make any difference. It's about the culture and the behaviors and the psychology. If you're able to get past that, like when we were, one of our other sessions, we were talking about the manifesto. It's not about agile. It's about building great culture and great behaviors and, experimentation and focus on outcomes and those kinds of things. If you just do that, the practices are secondary. You can do waterfall at an organization like that, and you're going to be better.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's not about the practices. It's about the way you do work, the way you think about work, and the way you think about treating other people in your organization.
You're so right, Roy. And I think the more you are agile in thought, truly adhering to the manifesto, the principles, the more you're like that, the more you're going to realize, oh, what we're doing here is wrong, and the way we're doing it is wrong, and the way we're thinking is wrong. And you realize, because if you're truly of the agile mindset, just seeing, I don't know what to call these nightmares like this, where processes and procedures are loaded up till the cows come home, your agile mind will tell you that this is wrong. You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely agreed.
It will.
So do you feel safer now?
Not in the least bit. If I look at what's on my screen here, it's 4 different tabs.
Hey,
but
wait,
if I listen
aren't I on your screen? Come on.
Oh dear. Well, we have another topic that goes hand in hand with this, because our friends at the PMI, they're not very far off in the way they're thinking and what they've recently purchased. We're going to be talking about that in a future episode, right, Roy?
Absolutely. It should be fun.
It should be. Well, the agile mindset, my friends, as you've heard us talk about SAFE, it has its place about what it's done for people and how it's gotten them to think. But does the bad outweigh the good? Personally, let me be honest, I think the bad outweighs the good, because people are going to follow this blindly. They're going to go down a blind alley. They will never get to the end of the rainbow. They will keep on, well, I don't even know it's a rainbow. It's a tunnel, right?
Yeah, and it's not a good light at the end of that tunnel. That's you know that old saying, right? I don't think it's a good idea.
Not a good light.
It's that's right. It's not the sun at the end. It's an agile release train.
Oh dear. Let's just quit here, Roy, before we get into any more trouble.
Bad joke. Sorry.
We could go on all day. Now, we say a lot of this in jest, but we bring it to you raw and unfiltered. And we're really trying to help you think Some of you are trying to navigate the road to an agile way of thinking. You may not have called it an agile way of thinking. You might have called it an agile path or an agile roadmap. Get the thinking straight. And to do that, just stay tuned to the channel. We'll keep bringing you ideas and perspectives. And before long, you'll be thinking agile, not trying to do agile, but you'll really be thinking in an agile fashion, and it will help you. Right, Roy?
Absolutely, Phil.
All right. Well, from me, goodbye. And from Roy,
Take care.